Hey, Tipsy Geeks. TabiiKat here, letting you know that we now have a YouTube channel. Go follow us at youtube.com/@TipsyGeeksUnite. This material is intended for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Hey there, nerdy souls and fellow geeks. Welcome to Tipsy Geeks Unite, the podcast where two female geeks sip on their favorite cocktails and dive headfirst into the world of video games, streaming, anime, and all things nerdy. I'm TabiiKat.
And I'm MissKate, and together we're your dynamic duo for all things geeky. Whether you're a seasoned gamer, an anime aficionado, or just someone curious about the wonderful world of nerd culture, you're in the right place.
So grab your favorite libation, kick back, and join us on this epic quest as we explore the ever-expanding universe of video games, the thrills of live streaming, and the captivating stories of anime. Expect lively debates, hilarious anecdotes, and all the nerdy knowledge you can handle.
We're here to be your guides through these pixelated realms and epic adventures. Whether you're looking for game recommendation and reviews, the roller coaster of streaming, or just a fun chat about your favorite characters, we got you covered.
So, are you ready to press start and embark on this epic journey with us? Grab your controller, raise your glass, and let's get started with another episode of Tipsy Geeks Unite.
Cheers to all the gamers and geeks out there, and remember, it's dangerous to go alone. Take a cocktail with you.
So what's our first topic today, Kate?
So, Tabby, we are going to be talking about a game that we both mentioned in another episode, and of course, the main protagonist is a animal, and it's Okami. Yes,
Okami! One of my favorite games of all time.
It quickly became one of my favorite games. I heard a lot about it, and I don't know, to be honest, I don't know how I stumbled across it, but I'm glad I did because it's one of the first video games on my YouTube channel that I did a full playthrough of, and it holds a very big spot in my heart, not just as a video game, but as just an experience. I'm excited to talk about Okami. But first,
I wanted to. Go.
No.
We're gonna do the drinks first.
Drinks.
I want to tell you how I found the game because I got a whole story. But yes, drinks first.
So what are you drinking, Tabby?
So I am drinking a wine, actually, at 1:30 in the afternoon. I'm drinking a red, I'm drinking a cab, or no, it's actually a red blend from Josh Cellars, like Josh Cellars. It's one of my favorite wines. And if anyone has any Cabernet recommendations, I don't explore wines very well, so if anyone has any recommendations for me, I will take those recommendations. But I recommend Josh Cellars.
I'll ask my sister because her and my mother are huge wine connoisseurs, and my sister has friends who own a few wineries in the States. So
what?
Yeah, I love wine, but like you, I'm not very knowledgeable or explorative, so when I drink wine and do tastings, it's with her and her friends, and they're like, this is a Merlot, and this is what, I'm like, okay.
Like, I just get these, like, cravings sometimes for red wine, and I'll go buy usually some cheeses with it, and some crackers, and have a little snack and everything. And I bought the Josh Cellars bottle this week, and I got some cheese that it didn't even say on the label what kind of cheese it was. I just got it from my regular place I get my cheeses. So I took it home to my roommate, and I was like, do you know what cheese this is? Because they're so knowledgeable about cheese, which I'm jealous of, that she is so knowledgeable about cheeses. So she tried it, and she was like, it's a sharp cheddar, like blah, 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 or a blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what the fuck? Do you know this?
That's hilarious. Yeah, I love cheeses. I love, like, cured, like, anything. And I hate pickles, but I like pickled foods, just not pickles. And so when I do have wine, I do the same thing as you. Is I get some, like, nice crackers, some, like, cheeses, some pickled, like, olives, or like cured meats
Pickled
or something
olives?
like that. Yeah.
Wait, are pickled olives different from olives?
Maybe I'm just dumb. I don't know.
Am I? I've like I wouldn't. I guess that could be a thing.
Or like
Oh
olives
no.
that are mixed with like other things. Like they have like
Oh,
bell
okay.
peppers and like roasted
Gotcha.
garlic, like whatever
Hmm.
that stuff is. It's fucking delicious. I'll like put a little cheese on a cracker and like put the mixture of the olives and like whatever things are in it on top,
Yeah.
and I just like with
Make
my
your own little
wine.
charcuterie board.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's wine goes so well with that.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Ugh.
or
But
dried
just
fruit.
craving that right
Mm,
now. I
I
ate all my
know.
cheese.
No, the cheese is gone, but
Uh,
yeah, my
What are
sister.
you having?
Uh
Oh, sorry, I cut you off
I forgot
there.
what I was gonna say about my sister. Anyways, I'm drinking just some Bailey's, coffee and Bailey's. I had a late start. Slept in because I stayed up late last night listening to music, but having some Bailey's. Mm, mm, mm,
Nice.
mm. I wanted
Good
a
old
nice warm drink
babies.
because it's been snowing and raining for the past 2 weeks, so I felt a nice,
Oh,
cozy, warm
ew.
drink would be
Ew, you
good.
got the snow rain mixture.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I don't mind it. The dogs hate it, but it's great to me.
If you
But
have to go out in the snow rain mixture, I hate that.
I don't like going out in it, but to me, I like it's cozy weather, so it's a nice warm drink with like Bailey's or some whiskey, like a hot toddy. My mom listened to the podcast where you were having a hot toddy, and she texted me. She's like, "Well, I'm
Oh,
following suit of Tabby, and I'm having myself a hot toddy, but I made it with
oh,
rum this time." And I was like, "Damn, mom."
oh. Oh, I love that.
You're
Uh,
influencing. I
oh my
mean,
God, influencer.
hot toddies are just top tier for coziness. So,
Exactly. Ugh. I don't have any snow right now, so I'm jealous.
well, we don't have snow. It just melts. It's actually sunny today. So it snows, but it doesn't stick because it's not, I guess, cold enough. But
Mm.
it's trying to snow. It's like, please. And then it's like,
Your ground
no.
hasn't frozen.
Well, the ground was frozen, but first it's actually warming up. So like last week it was below 30, and now it's getting up to like 57, 60, and I'm like, "What is this?" Oh wait, yeah,
I
climate
know.
change. What the fuck?
Hate it.
I hate it too. I remember on my birthday it would snow and I'd be bundled up, and now my birthday's coming up, and if I can wear shorts, I'm going to be upset.
Yeah, we will get snow until through April, and I don't know where any of the snow is. There's like no white outside, and it just is so much more depressing to have winter without any snow, I think.
Exactly. Exactly. Usually we get a little bit more snow and it stays a little bit cooler, and I can wear sweats and a hoodie longer. I The idea of having to wear like summer clothing longer depresses me because I am a winter cold person. So,
Hmm.
ugh, whatever. Climate
Same.
change people, pay attention to it. But let's get into Okami, and you have a story for us about how you came over Okami. Let's hear it.
Yes. Okay, so Okami was released in 2006 in Japan and North America on PlayStation 2. I can't believe it. It came it was developed at like the very end cycle of the PlayStation 2 before the
Mhm.
3 came out.
Mhm.
And so as a kid, when my mom would ask me what I would want for Christmas, I would like write in a Word document basically, like all the video games I wanted for Christmas. And I would give my list to her, and she would maybe get a few of those games on my list.
Mhm.
But I didn't know about Akami then. I had no idea. And so it was Christmas morning, and I was unwrapping all my presents, and she said, "The guy at the Best Buy store recommended this game for me to you." And I opened it, and it was Okami. And I wouldn't trust her, I guess, with something not on my list and for video games. But it looked like the box art looks really cool. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, interesting. I definitely was ready to try it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like I fell in love with it. And I was like, thank you, Mom, so much for getting me this game. It's amazing. And she was very happy about
She's like,
that.
I made a
And
good
she was like,
choice.
yeah, you made a good choice, a good recommendation from the Best Buy guy. So, Best Buy guy in Charlotte, North Carolina, thank you for recommending Okami to my mom for my Christmas present.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I think what happened, if I can remember right, I bought a PS4 when I graduated uni, and the only games I had at the time was Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3. And I went to the store or GameStop and bought a bunch of used games. I bought Persona 5, and for some reason I bought Okami. I think it was I was attracted to the box art, and they had a used copy for like $6.
Ah,
And I
mhm.
bought it, and I never played it until I think I had just I beat all the games that I had bought, and I was like, well, this one's been sitting on the shelf. I might as well give it a shot. And I played it, and then I just couldn't put it down. And
Mhm.
ah, such a it's such a classic. So I played it on PS4, and now I own it on PC, which I've started a playthrough. I haven't gone through it because I'm the type of person that will play 8 games at once and not finish any of them because I overwhelm myself. It's a bad habit. Don't recommend. But I love Okami. I want to do another playthrough of it. Since it's been many, many, many years since so it'll probably be a new experience for me. But Okami, if you guys haven't played Okami, we're going to give you a full background about not just the game development, but our experiences and the mythology, because I love anything Asian and especially Japanese, and mythology is a huge geekiness of myself. So I hope this we hope this inspires this you guys to check out Okami, because it's one of the few games. When it was released in 2006, it was stunning, and even today, it is still stunning. It has
It
aged so
holds up.
well.
It really holds up. Like the art is very cel shaded. They wanted to do a watercolor
Mm-hmm.
like look based on, or watercolor slash wood carving
Mm-hmm.
of old Japanese art style. And it still looks gorgeous to
It's
this day.
beautiful, and the everything about it. We're gonna cover music, story, you name it, because it's a full masterpiece. Like the whole thing is just. There's some nitpicking, of course, but just the whole entire game was just made beautifully. The attention
Hmm.
to detail was just chef's kiss.
And it's so criminally under just it's criminally unknown,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, especially when it first came out. Only so for the PlayStation version in 2006, only 200,000 copies were
What?
sold in the US.
Huh?
So it only made $8 million
Oh my
and
god.
was ranked on the 100, it was ranked as the 100th best-selling game of the year
Hmm?
in the region in 2006. Like, that's so criminally
And it's
underbought. Ugh.
and it still kind of goes under people's radar.
Yeah, it's definitely got that cult following now. Because it was released on PlayStation 2, the Wii, which I think was a good idea for them. Then they released it on PlayStation 4 and the PC now.
Is it
So it
on
has a lot of
Switch?
ports. It might be on Switch now. I'm not sure.
It would be good on a Switch,
It would.
if you have a Steam Deck, it runs well on a Steam Deck. I have one. Yeah, I know when I've mentioned Okami to a lot of people, some of them are like, that what is that game? I'm like, one of the best games ever fucking made. Hello? Where you been?
It's Clover Studios did not have a good did not have a good run, which is the studio that made
Mm-hmm.
Okami via Capcom. Um,
Mm.
but and they had some like big names in the studio too, like Hideki Kamiya and things like that.
Hmm.
But they've only released a Beautiful Joe, which you might know. I used to watch the 4 Kids version of the anime back in the day. Beautiful Joe, Okami, and God Hand, which God Hand did even worse than Okami after
Yeah,
it came out.
I've
And
heard of God Hand.
I think the studio was open for like 3 years or something, like a really short amount of time, and then it closed.
Hmm.
Uh, Unfortunately, it's criminal that no one else has made a true Okami sequel to the game. Like they made Okami Den for the DS,
Hmm.
but that's it. They say Capcom says it's a quote unquote spiritual successor. It's not a true sequel, and I did not like Okami Den. Did
I
not
didn't
care
even
for it.
hear about it until you mentioned
Right?
it to me, and I was like, well, if I didn't hear about it, it must be shit.
It's well, you play as Amaterasu's son and Sasano's son, and I'm like, what is this Muppet Babies bullshit? I want to play as Amaterasu because she is the OG, like one of my favorite protagonists of all time, and
Hmm.
it just didn't have the soul, it didn't have the passion and the wonder like the first game, and it is a really good idea to release it on a DS. I'll
Hmm.
give them that, but I didn't even finish it. So it
Ooh.
did get it it takes a lot for me to not even
Hmm.
finish a game, but uh back in the day. But
Ew.
uh
It
what was
suffered
I
the
gonna say?
sequel. Suffered the sequel failure.
Yeah, and it got okay reviews. It got like sixes and sevens out of tens,
Mm.
but Okami's got like mostly 9 out of 10 reviews.
Yeah, and that's it. I feel like did it switch studios? Because if Clover closed, then who made the second one?
Yeah, I think. Let me see.
Because I
Uh,
feel when other
Studio.
studios try to make a sequel to a game that they didn't have much kind of participation in the first round, it's hard to really follow up unless they had people from Clover to help. I don't
Oh
know.
my God. So the developers were Mobile and Game Studio Inc.
I've never heard of them.
What a name.
Hmm.
Under Capcom, but no one from the original Clover team worked on the spiritual
Says it
successor.
all. Says it all, man. Says it
Exactly.
all. Just it's very hard for a company to pick up a sequel that had no correlation with the first one to actually make a banger after that. I don't even think on the top of my head if I can think of a studio that picked up a franchise and actually did something good with it.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. It is on the Nintendo Switch, so you're right.
Good. Good. Yeah, I also feel like Okami is good as a single game. Like it doesn't need a sequel.
Exactly. It ends so well, but even at the ending, I was a sad tabby. I didn't want to leave our friends, our protagonists.
I
The
was
characters are so much fun to be around. It definitely, they took some like pieces from the Zelda series,
mm-hmm.
and people say it's a Zelda clone. And if you tell me
Mm-mm.
that, I will fight
Mm-mm.
you. I will do
Mm-mm.
a YouTuber boxing match, and I'll get one of those set up, and I
Cage
will
fight.
fucking fight you.
How dare
That's how much.
you?
Exactly. How
How
dare.
dare? No.
It takes it has some similarities to the Zelda series. It just has like these brilliant, like very colorful cast of characters and
Mm-hmm.
side characters. It has like item management and like some like heart, like uh like health bar stuff like Zelda, but it's it's
I've played a
it's
few
so
Zelda
good
games, and
on its
how the
own.
fuck do you compare it to that? You don't. You don't. Oh, I'm gonna slap a bitch. Come over here and take my hand. Hold this. My God. That annoys me. Ugh, ugh. I mean, I'm just angry now. The
How do
violence
you
is
live with
brewing.
yourself?
It's brewing inside of me. There's more to life than Zelda and Dark Souls and Fortnite, people. Come on. no, I thought Okami was incredibly unique in a lot of its, in almost everything that it did, and I mean, we'll talk more about that. I do want to talk about the story first and do
Oh
a
yeah.
little bit of myth for you guys because I spent a lot of time yesterday researching, and I thoroughly fucking enjoyed it. That I end up just in a fucking rabbit hole. And I end up buying. I told my mom I want these books for my birthday, and she's like, "Okay." So I plan on having more mythology Japanese books for my book collection. But you play as Okami, which is a wolf, and Okami's full name is actually Amaterasu. And Amaterasu in Japanese mythology is a goddess of the sun, and she is the daughter of Izanagi, who's the god of creation, and the mother is Izanami. And so Amaterasu is known to be the heavenly ruler of the one of the realms. You have your three realms. And so that's the main character. And then you also have Susanoo. So Susanoo is actually Amaterasu's younger brother, who's the god, the storm god, and is also a troublesome god, and it gets expelled by their father. And they also have a third sibling who is the moon deity, which is Tsukuyomi.
Mm.
You see a little bit of mention of Tsukuyomi in Okami, but not as much. It focuses more on Ami or Okami and
And
Susanoo.
Susano.
Uh, it is very interesting how they incorporated a lot of mythology in this game. And if you anyone here is a Studio Ghibli film, there's a famous Japanese folklore story in Okami that you do, and it's called The Tale of the Bamboo Cutter. uh
Oh yeah.
yeah, and it's in the game, and you actually they made a film. Studio Ghibli made a film called The Tale of the Princess Kaguya. So almost every story or sub story in the game Okami is actually a real story or folklore story in Japanese culture, which I thought was immensely fucking cool, and it shows a lot of depth went into it. And a lot of the characters that you meet throughout Okami, and we'll highlight some of them, are actually, in Japanese folklore. They're actually well, quote unquote real. They're not simply just made up for shits and giggles. They all have an important part, and one of them, aside from Susanoo and Okami, is Yamata no Orochi, who is the eight-headed, eight-tailed dragon, who is the villain of the game. And that's a real demon slash deity in Japanese folklore. And so how the story goes for Okami, it does follow alongside the actual story of Amaterasu and Susanoo. Once Susanoo gets expelled from heaven, he goes down to the mortal realm and is put into a village where the Orochi, or the serpent slash dragon, is making the village sacrifice a daughter every year for 7 years. And Susanoo, falls in love with one of the daughters, hence you see that in the game, and makes a deal with the village saying, if I will help you take down this monster if you let me marry her. And basically they agree, and he changes the woman that he falls in love with, so she doesn't get sacrificed. He kind of transform her into a comb for safekeeping. And she's a rice field princess, which in the game she is
Oh yeah.
she's farming rice. And he keeps her for safekeeping, and he goes on this journey with to fight Orochi. And once Susanoo slain Orochi, he gets a magnificent sword from the tail of Orochi and offers the weapon to Amaterasu, which you see a slight hint kind of towards Okami in the game, the weaponry. And so that's a huge big chunk of the game and the mythology. And what I felt was really nice about what they did in Okami is they don't really pinpoint or highlight that Amaterasu and Susanoo are brother and sister. They're kind of working together because when Susanoo was expelled from heaven, him and Amaterasu tried to, reunite with Susanoo and test his sincerity, and Susanoo was very mean and scared her away. So when he fights and goes through his like kind of trials with Orochi, he basically gets another sword that's from the flesh of Orochi and offers it to Amaterasu as a reconciliation gift, which helps them make up. So I thought that was really nice because at the end of Okami, Susanoo kind of redeems himself, and we can talk more about
Yeah,
Susanoo in the game. But
he's such a little jerk.
I hated him the first time I met him, and then throughout the story I started being like, okay, he's getting some balls, so
Yeah, he gets better, he improves.
yeah. Some fun stuff about Orochi, as well as the tale of Orochi, is also related to a lot of Greek mythology. So Orochi has a lot of mirrors, and if you think about Orochi being an 8-headed serpent / dragon, you think of the Greek myth Perseus and Andromeda and Medusa. And so, Perseus is half mortal, half god, and because Zeus is a whore. And Andromeda is being sacrificed to save whatever her village, and Perseus fights all these people to save her in the village, and then he ends up marrying her, and they use a mirror. And it's kind of, when we talk about Okami's weapons, Okami uses 3 types of weapons: rosary beads, sabers or swords, and mirrors. So I thought that was a really nice tie-in to some Greek and Japanese mythology. Thought it was very, very, very fun. But that's kind of the basis of the Greek or the Japanese mythology. And you also, throughout the game, Okami saves and learns different paintbrush techniques, which are representative of the zodiacs, the Chinese zodiacs or Asian zodiacs, which I love that they tied into that.
Yeah, I loved when they would come up on the screen and they all had their little personalities.
Yes, they were so fun. Some were really like, oh, mother, the mother of all. And then some were like, what the it took you fucking long enough.
I know. I was like, I want to see the snake because I'm a snake in the animal zodiac. So I was like,
I'm
I
a
want to see the
dragon.
snake. So
And it's Year of the Dragon this year. It's my year,
nice.
baby. Let's go. But yeah, so I love that they tied in a lot of different small stories from Japanese folklore, and they really focused on really they followed the mythology of Amaterasu, Susanoo, and Orochi, but they also kind of gave it their own twist that wasn't so far out of bounds that it just did not make fucking sense. But I want to really talk about, let's get into the story, the characters, what we think about them, combat, and just overall state of how beautiful the game is. Because it's truly, like we mentioned, a masterpiece. And now I want to play it. I just want to load it up and lay in bed and play it.
I've played it multiple times over the years, but I did play it on stream way back when it came out on PC. But if you buy any of the ports of Okami, it's definitely a good bang for your buck because it's a long ass game. It's got a long story, and if you do like additional content, it's even longer. There's not a whole lot of like additional content, but there's some fun side stuff to do.
I was shocked at how long it was when I first played it. I thought, okay, 8 to 10 hours, and then I look at like 40 plus hours later, and I'm like, are we finished? What else can I do? Because the game, the way it's designed, you do a lot of backtracking, but the backtracking isn't exhausting because you are building up your abilities. There's a lot of puzzles and treasure hunting and access to areas that you have to go through, and it's a linear game in its own right. But when I felt like I had to backtrack all the time, it wasn't horrible because the story was consistent throughout the game where it would introduce you to new dilemmas, new characters, new situations, and so it was never exhausting for me.
Yeah, and a lot of the characters, there's a lot of villages you go to, and
Mm-hmm.
when you leave a village and come back to it, there's all these different stories in each of the villages, and there's character development when you return. Usually, like a character in a village will get into something else, and
Mm-hmm.
a new story will be appearing, and it's always fun to see how they progress and develop because the characters are so interesting,
Mm-hmm.
very fun to be around and just see their stories unfold.
Yes, I loved, of course, we love Okami. We mentioned Susano. When you first meet Susano, I hated him. I was like, ugh,
He's so
fuck.
annoying at first.
Yeah, and then over time he kind of adds some lightheartedness because it does get a little heavy in the game. And
Hmm.
I found him to be a good growth development. He actually grew on me. And alongside you meet um a lot of
Your
different
favorite character? Oh,
uh,
I thought you were going to talk about someone else.
oh, we'll mention that one later. Saving the worst for last, unfortunately.
Oh,
Um but I love the characters that you meet. The merchants are fun. You meet another deity, okay, who might be related to Okami, the moon deity, the one with the flute. Uh,
Waka.
Waka.
I
Yes.
love. I had such a crush on
So
Waka.
did I. Oh my god, when he first came on, I was like, "Hello."
But I'm like, do you? Okay, this is what I wanted to ask you. Do you know why he's blonde and why he speaks French?
Okay, I don't know why the fuck he speaks French, but as a moon deity, typically someone correct me if I'm wrong later, but a lot of Japanese mythology and just anime and stuff, if you are part of like the night or the moon or something like that, you're usually white, like your hair is white and you have blue eyes or golden eyes or something like that. So I'm guessing he's blonde because he has something to do with might being the moon deity.
That
Cough,
would
cough.
make sense
The
because
French, though?
Princess Kaguya in Okami is also blonde,
Mm-hmm.
and she's the moon priestess, goddess.
Something like that, yeah. So if it's moon related, you usually have silver to white hair. Now,
Hmm.
why he speaks French, I don't fucking know.
It could
I
be a localization thing
could be. I
because
have
they
no
have
idea.
to localize a lot for this game.
Mm, that could be it. Yeah, when he spoke French, I that was like the one bit in the game where I was wanting to be like, the French haven't visited this country yet in the States,
Yeah, I
so
was like, even when I was a kid playing this at like 16, I was like, I don't know why you speak French, but I'm not gonna complain about it
you're
because
hot.
you're hot.
Yeah, and I thought the way they drew the women, like especially when you meet the first like priestess and she's got the peaches and she's a little peach butt and like, the big old
And her clothes
bazongas,
just disappear more as
right?
the game progresses.
Exactly. It's just I liked the way they designed it because it added a little bit of adultness to it, but it wasn't distasteful. It wasn't full nudity. But that leads to my least favorite character of the fucking game. It's Isun, which I've watched a lot of reviews and a lot of people are on my side. They're like, Isun is
Really?
annoying. And it's not that the sound of his voice, it's more of his sexualization of all the females that you meet in
Hmm.
the game because you meet a lot of in a Japanese culture, a lot of anything that, revolves around nurturing or growth or anything is around women because Amaterasu is, the goddess of the sun. So you have the, moon priestess, you have rice priestess. Women are always sacrificed. Women are always the ones, because the men are the warriors, they're the big tough guys, and women are the ones who do kind of all the background stuff. So his throughout the game, when I first met him, I thought he was okay, but there's when we were talking about in Stray, how it was nice to have, you have your catagonist and its companion. There wasn't so much dialogue, and there was enough to make it very. It was balanced. I felt, and my gripe with Okami, one of my gripes, is Isun doesn't shut the fuck up. And there's times when I'm doing something, and I'm like, Isun's like, and they use Isun to like, if you got stuck, he would like bring up a hint or something. I just wanted to shut, like, is there a mute button for this motherfucker? Because he annoyed me. Because sometimes I would stray away from the main quest because I'm gathering stuff or I'm just wandering around to explore the map. And he'd be like, oh, come here, why you guys? And I'm like, shut the fuck up, Isun. Shut the fuck up. No one asked you to talk. Shut up.
See, I like his story in the game, but I will say that there's a long ass like tutorial for a
Oh,
lot of things in the game, and
oh God.
he's the voice of the tutorial, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, Okami, okay, Ami, now you have to do this. And as soon as you do it, he's like, and that is how you do the blah blah blah. Now if you it's like it's just nonstop talking and exposition.
Yes, and I felt the tutorial for Okami was just too fucking long. I
It's a lot of exposition and like
mm,
tutorial at the very beginning.
yeah,
But once the game gets going, it's
it's
better.
like a 3 to 4, maybe 5 hour tutorial, just depending. But it was painful. I felt that it when I started replaying it recently, and I remembered how long the tutorial was. I had to tell myself, "It gets better, Caitlin. Just get through this." And then Isun just doesn't shut the fuck up. I'm like, "We can do this, Caitlin. We can do. We can do. We can get through this." But yeah, Isun is a little like, what do you call him? I don't even know what you would call him, but he's the size of like half a man's fingernail or thumb.
Oh, he's another Japanese mythology story. He's the
I didn't look him up because I can't stand him. So yes,
Oh my
you guys
God.
didn't get a backstory on Isun because my
Yeah.
distaste for him.
So in Japanese mythology, he's Isun Boshi.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like a 1 inch little swordsman, and he eventually like marries a princess, and that's like a regular sized princess, and so let's see how that works out.
It's an
But
interesting name, Ishin Bushi. Do you know what Bushi means in Japanese?
no.
Means hat. And when you see
Oh.
him in Okami, he has a big ass fucking hat.
Yeah. Huh.
uh, yeah, I didn't do background on Ishin because my distaste for him is very deep. I won't sit here and hate on him too much, but throughout the game, Isun is your companion. I felt that he did talk too much, and he loves women a
Yeah, I
lot.
thought that was weird as a kid, but I must have had a higher tolerance for video game tutorials and exposition as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't care about how long the tutorial was when I was 16. But now, if I played it for the first time, when I was a kid, I was just in awe of the whole
Mm-hmm.
game the whole time
Mm-hmm.
and just sucked into the game. But now I would be more like cynical and more nitpicky about things.
Exactly. I think when I was younger, I mean, almost every game that you played from PS3 and before, or even if you played on Xbox 360, had a tutorial, not as long as Okami's, but you could get through it. And nowadays you don't really, you have a wee bit of a tutorial, or you can skip the tutorial. And my community knows that I skip tutorials and then I bitch about how I hate the game because I didn't read the tutorial. uh, but I like figuring things out for myself now. I like doing things the hard way. I'm a masochist at that. But um the game itself, like we said, is watercolor kind of woodcutting based, and so you get that art style throughout the game. And one of the key mechanics of the game is using a paintbrush to, either fight enemies or to help, bring life to the environment. So like blooming trees or changing from sun to the moon, or making cherry bombs and stuff like that. You use a paintbrush type mechanic, which I've never played a game that ever used anything like that. Ever. I don't know about you, Tabby.
Um, no, I don't think I have either.
Every
Now
other
that I
game
think of it.
you either have like you're like parrying or fighting or shooting. I'm trying to think of another game that you would use, but no, it's so unique. There's nothing like it. And that's how you get these different paintbrush techniques by saving and meeting the different zodiacs, which is really cool. And each zodiac has its own thing. It either helps bring water or makes lily pads. It creates wind.
Yeah,
It
rejuvenation.
rejuvenation.
There's so many different brush techniques, actually, but it's so much fun to get new ones. And I, yeah, that the function of world building and world interaction, yeah, I don't think I've ever seen anything like it before. And it's so like this came out before the Wii and
Mhm.
all like that would be perfect for the Wii, and obviously it got ported to the Wii later on.
Mhm.
But it's God, it's just such a perfect idea.
And
Like
they executed it
interact with
so well.
yeah, it really you think just talking about it, like you're in a fight or in the world and you have to like basically you pause time to interact with the celestial brush and use attacks with the celestial brush
Mhm.
or something. But it's all very flawless. It doesn't seem like it's an extra step. It seems just like an extra extension of the gameplay and
And
your character.
yeah. And I love that when we're talking about combat, Okami, like we said, uses either mirror, rosary beads, or a kind of like saber slash sword. And you have a weapon, your main weapon, and a sub weapon, and you change them, make combos, and they change how they work. But I love the combat because you you beat them up until like they turn gray, and then you can use your brush technique to finish them off. And you upgrade your little bottles of ink, which I thought was a really nifty thing to do. So it allows you to gauge where you are in the game with like the amount of health and the amount of ink bottles that you have. And what's also really great about the game is that each enemy is unique to its area, and it's unique to the story and the placement. They were very carefully placed, and you fight so many different types of enemies and bosses. You can even call them like there's some instances where you fight dungeons ish, and the music that goes with the fighting is so much fun, and just the design. And a lot of the, if not all of the enemies are actually like demons or yokai from Japanese mythology.
Hmm.
So I just really love the amount of research and depth that they put into the game. Um and it's fun with, like most games now, you can run away from fights, or you're stuck depending on the game. And Okami allows you to run away from battles, but once you're in the battle, like say you get sucked into a battle, like you have to complete it, because it is also necessary for the amount of, I don't think you really level up, but you upgrade. I do see a difference between leveling up and upgrading, like
Yeah,
materials and
there's no
stuff.
leveling up.
But it really, you get to learn different combos that add different, because you get graded on how many hits did you take, how
The
long did
time.
it take
Yeah.
to fight in that little like arena, and kind of like the different techniques and stuff. So I thought that was really unique. It's not like Zelda.
No, it you get stuck in combat most for the most part,
Hmm.
but it's not turn-based. What I'm a little nitpicky with the combat. Because you don't really need to do a whole lot of fighting.
Hmm.
If you approach you don't have to
Hmm.
approach the enemy a lot of
Hmm.
times. And I liked that because for me, when I would get stuck fighting an enemy, I would have a heart attack when that music would start, and I'd be like, "Oh no!" Because when they float towards you, it would
Mhm.
always scare me.
Oh,
Like if you get near
yes.
an enemy, I'm like, "Ah!"
Yeah, the
Ah."
demon scrolls that are floating
Yeah,
around the area. Yeah.
yeah, that represent the enemies.
And then like you had the
Um,
different colors. You had green and I think red and another
Red.
color.
Um, but I like that you don't have to do a whole lot of fighting if you don't want to in the open map.
Yeah, it's
Um,
not very grindy either, which was really nice. And I think this was a game pre-grind ish. But there was not, you didn't have to grind to get levels or to do things. It was just, you can fight him if you want or not fight him. It's completely up to you. But there, I know that you had to fight a certain amount in some areas to clear it out. And that kind of starts flowing into the environment and the progression of the game. Because a lot of games now, you get you're into an area and then you get like a little mini map on your screen and there's just all you get all these highlights of like side missions and PCs, like it gets bounded, and then Okami doesn't have that. You don't get a little mini map on the screen. You just wander around. And what I also love is throughout Okami you see the progression you make with the story, but also the environment, because Orochi
mhm.
has cursed the land and it's all black and red and dreary. And as you are Okami and you're rejuvenating and restoring life, you see the beauty of like the sakura blossoms and the growth of life and you get to feed different types of animals in the game, which is fucking
Yes,
cool.
I
And
love that. It's so much about the game is
mm-hmm,
about restoration, which
mm-hmm,
as a sun goddess makes
mm-hmm,
sense.
mm-hmm.
And it's really not like most games these days where it's about killing and uh, just doing the opposite of what Okami is doing, which is restoring the land and feeding the animals and
Mm-hmm.
turning everything back to status quo.
Yeah, and the subtle touches that they add, especially like when you're feeding the animals, like say you clear out an area and there's like one cat or one pig or a deer, and then you feed it and you get the little hearts. And then when you run through that area, then you see like there's like five more of that animal, and you see that life is slowly gaining it's coming back after being kind of destroyed by Orochi's curse. And I love that subtle touch because that's what made the backtracking so less grueling, because the land develops as you develop, and as you restore more and more of the different areas, you get rewarded as more and more life comes back. And
Mhm.
another thing about the game, it is a long game and it's massive, but you don't have a central hub. Like each town or each area has its own area. So you don't have to run all the way back to the beginning village to do all this shit. Like each area that you have has its merchant or like little like safe place. Like, so I thought that was really nice cuz I remember in when I played Ocarina of Time, you always had to go back to the fucking castle or whatever to buy shit, and that wasn't the case with Okami. Every place had its own merchant, or the merchant moved with you. You're like, hey, you weren't you just in this place? And they're like, oh yeah, I'm traveling around. Look at this shit that I found here, and it's like awesome. That was a huge thing for that time period when the game came out. So it was a good progression. Um, and there is some, inventory management, but it wasn't overbearing. It was very simplistic in its
No.
way.
Yeah.
Very,
It's not Baldur's Gate levels of
oh,
item
Jesus.
management. God.
Or Resident Evil style item management. Oh, you can only have four things. I mean, which is a little realistic. You're not going to fucking walk around carrying, Resident Evil, you have your limited inventory space. But it was just really nice to. It was a very simple UI that worked very well for what the game wanted it to do, and I really appreciate that as someone who now we have these games that are just so fucking complex that it takes you like hours and hours and hours to even figure out one thing, and sometimes simple is nice. Simple is more.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
Also, Hideki Kamiya, who was the director on Okami,
mhm.
also worked on Resident Evil 2. So
Ooh. Ooh. It's a small world.
it is a small world.
uh
Capcom.
I did think the end of Okami, like the area with like the alien ship or whatever it was fucking weird.
It's it does make some interesting choices sometimes, a little out
Uh-huh.
there
When
in ways to interpret, I guess, the mythology with their own little flair.
yeah, when that part came up when I first played it, I kind of sat there and was like, "Eh?"
Is it because of Waka?
Yeah.
Because they go away together.
Mhm. I was a little weirded out by it. I was like, "We got a floating like blue spaceship thing, huh?" Eh?
Well, you know what weirded me out was in Okamiden when you have little baby Okami that's the son of Amaterasu, and it's like, who the fuck is the father? Because the last we saw of Ami was she was floating away on a spaceship with Waka. I'm like, what are you implying? And it's literally the spiritual successor, Okamiden, is 9 months exactly after the ending of Okami.
There's
Like
some unanswered questions
things
here. What the fuck?
things happened right away. I'm just saying. I don't want to. My mind's going to bad places, so I'll
Same,
shut up
mine just
now.
went there, but just food for thought. Food for thought. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't hear about the second one. I'm not gonna look into the second one after hearing you because I trust your judgment and your opinion, and
Oh, thank
that
you.
just doesn't fucking make sense. I mean, unless somehow Amaterasu went from being a wolf to a woman, and then her and Waka but like
I mean, she literally can't she turn into a human woman?
I mean, in
Isn't
the
that possible?
mythology, yes, she's a
Yeah.
woman, but in the game,
She is a woman.
you know, uh,
Let's not talk about this
this
anymore.
is this is gonna get weird. But yeah, I thought the end part of Okami was a little fucking strange. I didn't hate
It
it, but I
felt a
sat
little
there
weird. Yeah.
and yeah, was a little weirded out. But I think my favorite area of Okami is where is it a kill it's not a killer whale, is it a dolphin or a type of whale that you get to you're in the ocean part and you go like to sunk you go underneath the water to like the mermaid village town. I love
Yeah.
that so
Because that's
much.
the oh, what is that tale? Um,
I can't remember. I should have pulled it up. There's just so many areas in Okami that I would literally could write a dissertation on it and still not cover
it's
all of it.
oh yeah, it's Urashima Taro.
Mm-hmm.
Because so Okami has a part of the game where you're basically a part of the Urashima Taro legend, which
Mm-hmm.
is about a fisherman that
Mm-hmm.
does a kind deed and gets rewarded by going to the Mermaid Palace
Mm-hmm.
below the water, below the sea. It's a nice little tale from Japanese mythology.
I
Recommend reading
loved
that.
that was my favorite area, and I also loved
I liked the
the wolf
onsen.
area. Oh, the Onisen.
Yeah, with the sparrows. It was so
Yes.
cute. All the
Oh,
little sparrows were so cute.
all the
Just
areas were great.
how they make the characters is a lot of the characters are really cute, especially the animal characters.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, or where they have that princess no, it wasn't a princess. It was a priestess with you need to go find her six guardian dogs.
Mm-hmm. The
I
other
loved
wolves.
going to find them.
Yeah, and they all had their own different personalities. Oh,
Yeah,
that was
and they
another
all had
favorite
like
story.
I loved some of some of them are more fleshed out than others, but
Mm-hmm.
like some of them already have like other duties in other parts of Nippon that they can't go back to the priestess, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, this is so sweet."
I know. They just added so much. They just created such a diverse world that was compacted in a way that it wasn't overbearing. I love the tale of the bamboo forest. It's one of my other favorites. I love that area. Again, I love the area with the bathhouses and all that, and the mini games that were in it. There was the mini game where you're helping the old guy find water. That one was pretty fun. It
Yeah,
was difficult.
that's in the bathhouse.
Hmm.
It was difficult, but it was fun.
Yes, and I loved the boss fights. Holy shit. I think the first memorable boss I fought was that spider thing. Um
Oh yeah, she
she
kind of
kicked my
annoys me.
ass. She kicked my
She does.
ass.
She's hard.
She fucking
The boss
wrecked
fights
me.
are really fun. The Orochi fights are a lot of fun, I
Oh,
think.
yes. I love the fights with Orochi. Oh. You fight him multiple times, of course, but those fights and the music
It's very
atmospheric.
like heart-stopping and
Hmm.
atmospheric. I was like very stressed as a kid playing
Yes.
those
Yes.
Orochi fights.
I wonder if
Uh,
you can buy the soundtrack for Okami. I should look.
I wonder if it's on Steam
Or
for
even
the
if it's
HD edition.
on Spotify. I love the soundtrack,
Oh.
especially when you're in the first village. The music when you clear out the curse is just so cozy. It's
Oh,
so pleasant.
well, someone has the OST on a playlist on Spotify.
Yes. I'm
Let's
gonna.
fucking go.
Yes, I need more Okami music. It's perfect, like reading music or like outside watching the dogs play music. I love
Yeah, they
Okami.
interpret classical Japanese music into the game,
Mm,
and it's very like
mm,
when you enter into parts of the Nippon where Orochi has taken over and you need to revitalize
mm-hmm,
everything. The sound is very slow and
mm-hmm.
more tone, and then it's happy and it's like you have more flutes playing when the place has been restored, and they do a lot of like extra little details with the music in the game.
Yes, they do. And I think another thing I want to highlight about the game is like we talked in Stray, you don't have a lot of English speaking. It's kind of like mumbling, but it's not annoying. And Okami's very is again a silent uh
Protagonist.
protagonist, and you hear a student going but Okami's quiet throughout, except when you use Okami to howl or anything like that. But I love that about the game is that you really are more focused on your environment and the things that you do to restore the land versus hearing a lot of conversation.
Yeah, and I love that even though we have a silent protagonist, unlike Link, who I would say is mostly, since he's a silent protagonist, we don't get any sense of how he's feeling most of the time until like the more newer games, I think.
Uh huh.
But uh we always have like Isun, like Okami or Ami Amaterasu will do like these funny gestures. She's kind of like a little bit of a slacker
Hmm.
at some points, and she'll like ignore people sometimes. And she has these little personality quirks or gestures that she'll do
Hmm.
sometimes, or like Waka will know what she's thinking,
Yeah.
or Isun will know how she is and tell kind of like, oh, Ami, you say you're thinking this and this and this. Um, so we don't she still has a characteristics to her and personality.
Yes. Very, very, very unique. And a lot of wolf characteristics as well, or canine. She
Hmm.
wags her tail, or
Especially when she's around other dogs or wolves.
yes, it's so good. Oh my god! Now I'm gonna boot up Okami, lay in my
I
bed,
know, it's
and
making me want
play
to
it.
play
I
it.
really want to play it. I miss such a good game, and I I don't think anyone could ever make a game like Okami. Like I think it's one of those unique, beautiful pieces of art. Just mwah.
It's such a beautiful game, and it's supposed to be like a scroll, like we're playing in this watercolor
Mm-hmm.
or ink-based game, that this scroll-like appearance on screen. Um, and it's such a gem. It's such a hidden gem. It feels so sad that it didn't get the credit it deserved when it came out.
And the
And
credit that
so,
it needs
so
now.
few- yeah, and the localization team had just did a hell of a job, I think,
Mm-hmm.
interpreting. the because so much of this is just Japanese, uh can only be interpreted in Japanese, or it
Mm-hmm.
won't come across, like some hints and extras won't come across in English.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to like redo a few things so that for an English audience, like at one point they had to redo one total puzzle because you had to write a Japanese character on
Mm-hmm.
screen, and other things that, like with dialogue and such, they'd have to sometimes create totally different personalities for some like very small side characters. But I think they did a fantastic job with what they could do.
Exactly. And for the time that it was developed and released, because if you think about it, now we have these games, Ghost of Tsushima, Neo, Wulong, that are really bringing out historical and mythological Asian settings, and a lot of, a lot of kind of feedback, and I've seen in streams is people hate reading subtitles. I mean, I don't mind it. It's how you learn the language, in my opinion. But there's a lot more work that has to go into it. And sometimes the translations are bad, or sometimes people don't really like, oh, well, I remember playing in Fatal Frame where you have a puzzle that you have to do things in a different, the way that historical Japanese would use dates. It was very different back in the day, and then you have to figure it out. And if you don't have a guide, you can't figure it out. And so Okami really, it kept it simple and basic and fun, but still kept true to its origins, which was Japanese, and incorporating like different types of poems and stories and things that were done, what would be done around that time period. Was it They, like I said, they simplified it for all audiences to where you could find and figure it out for yourself and still not hate what you had to go through. You found an accomplishment, or like you felt accomplished doing it.
Hmm. And I was reading this in the wiki, but I just looked it back up. The localization team had to translate 1,500 pages of
Oh.
text. It's like,
Woo!
oh my God, that's a lot of pages of just translating, to make sure that it went over the quote unquote the native check, to make sure everything was uh conditional, like in terms of like the conversations.
Mm-hmm.
They had to change like the lack of plurals in Japanese language and the
Mm-hmm.
large number of characters.
Mm-hmm. That
Oh,
shows a
that's
lot of work went into it. There's a lot of games that have come out now that just don't do that. I mean, one game that I felt like, when there's a lot of games that we play in our lives that we're like, this is cool, and then there's a handful of games that really impact us. Okami was one, Castlevania Symphony of the Night was one for me, but one recently in the last, I say, 5 to 6 years, that really just fucked me up in a good way was Ghost of Tsushima, because they really went in depth with following the way of the samurai, Ronin, what it's like to fight the Mongolians at that time, and really what was going through that time period, and the amount of work and research that they went into it. And they're not a traditional Japanese studio. So they worked with a lot of people in Japan to make sure that they were staying true, they weren't deviating. And I really appreciate that when studios put that work into those games, because they're making an experience that's whole. You're not just getting a piece of it. I mean, another game like Witcher 3 was really in depth. It really went into the back end of Witcher. And so, yeah, you got to go through 1,500 pages of this, but it really, that amount of work that you put into it showcased in the game.
hmm
And that's what we need more of,
And
people.
I haven't played Ghost of Tsushima, unfortunately, because I don't have PlayStation 4 or 5, but I completely forget all the time that it wasn't a Japanese studio that made Ghost of
Mm-hmm.
Tsushima.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's a lot of people didn't realize that, and but they did such a good job. So it can show that you can love something and still and not be a part of that world, you know, like be a part of the world but you're not like born and molded by it, but you have such a deep passion and inspiration from it that you can create something, you know, doing your research, putting a lot of hours, and just the more you are into it, the I believe the better it can be. And so you don't see a lot of that in games nowadays. I you know, in my opinion, like,
Hmm.
you know, here's a copy and paste of a template and then you go with this. And Okami for its time was just so, and even now, like I said, it's aged perfectly. Like if it came out now, I would still be like, whoa,
Oh my
awesome.
God, if there was an actual, like, legitimate sequel with the original team or something
Ooh.
that was actually good, I would be like so excited to play more. I think it wrapped up so well, I
Mm-hmm.
think, but I would be completely happy if we got another game.
I would be open to it. I don't know if I would be happy. I would be open to it. I would really want to know where they would go with it because they incorporate so much stories from the Japanese that where would they go? Maybe they would do a story about Isun, maybe not make him as annoying, go into that, or maybe go more into, you know, what, like maybe Ami goes into like a different part of Nippon, like maybe the different like a different island or something. And
Yeah, I just wanted more like mythological tales being translated into the game with I want Amaterasu as the main character. That's all I want is Ami as the main character.
yeah, playing as Ami was and what's fun, Okami does have such an impact in the gaming world. If you've ever played Monster Hunter Rise, you can get a skin that makes, so in Monster Hunter Rise you get two companions. You get a Palamute, which is a wolf like creature, and you get a Palico, which is a cat. They're that can walk on two legs, and they're your companions. You can change them to be healers, fighters, support, whatever. And the Palamute I have is Ami, and you can skin their weapons too to be what you use as Ami, which, oh, and even when you run, so you have that in Okami when you're running as Okami, you have like these beautiful blossoms and life grow underneath her feet. And so in Monster Hunter Rise, it does the same thing if you have the skin as Okami, which I thought was a nice, beautiful touch.
Aw.
Absolutely amazing. So
Like
Okami
yeah.
exists and throughout other games as well.
Hmm. I think that Ami's design is peak character design,
Oh,
simplistic but
mm-hmm.
effective. She's so great, so sleek. Even with
Beautiful.
like her functioning in the game is so gorgeous to just like watch her run around and look at her. It's because it does, you can go from like walking to sprinting without
Mm-hmm.
having to push any buttons
Mm-hmm.
because it'll just automatically do that for you over a few seconds of
Mm-hmm.
time. And you can see how like her running changes and the depending on if she's walking to sprinting, the flowers and growth that she leaves behind when she steps on the land, it changes. It's so extra details that's beautiful. They put so much love into her character.
Exactly. It was. Oh, I'm gonna play it now, guys. You guys gotta find it. You can find it for cheap. If not, it is worth the full price of whatever platform's charging. It is like it's on all
It's
gaming
on so
systems.
many, yeah, so many different platforms, including
Um,
Steam.
and it's wonderful to play. It's cozy. The story is rich. The environment is rich, and it's also a great game to play and then like a year or two go back to because you just have such a wonderful experience with it. And I love everything about it. It's such a great game. There's a couple of flaws, but you look past it because it's such a beautiful game.
Yeah, the story just really, I would say I'm just there for the story,
Mm-hmm.
which is the best, and everything else is the characters and the story. Everything else is superfluous.
It is. It absolutely is. Ugh. Oh, my heart. It just makes me so happy talking about it. And and if you guys are more interested or you're interested more about the mythology, you could look it up. There's a lot of mythology books that cover Okami. There's an art book that I added to my wish list that I want to buy. And so get into the stories. Do some research. I encourage it because they're great reads. They're fun. You find a lot of uniqueness to the stories, and it gives you more appreciation for the game as well.
Mm-hmm.
When I got some of the books that I was, I have a book about Japanese yokai, and then I have about, it talks about the deities, and it's just so many different things, and it just made me appreciate Okami even more because they really, really went into it.
Yeah, and if you are a Japanese mythology lover, you will definitely appreciate all the Easter eggs that they put into the game with so many different tales from Japan.
And even like the items are actually from Japanese folklore. They're not fucking made up. They're actually, and they are used for those characters in the game. Like they didn't just, oh, I'm going to give a wolf a fucking sword. Like, no, there's a reason behind it. Like there's everything that happens in the game. There's literally a reason why. And you just have to do a little digging, but that makes it fun to me. It's like a scavenger hunt. All right, Tabby, do you have anything else you want to add about Okami? Other than it's beautiful.
Don't think so. Other than I need to get some Amaterasu action figures or something.
I know. I want scrolls.
I need some merch.
a
scroll.
Oh my god, if you can get the Okami scrolls and hang them up on your wall. I love artwork. So I would love the watercolor style paintings on my wall. I'm going to search for that after this. Cool. So, we're going to leave it at that. Guys, check out Okami. It is on all gaming platforms. Fantastic game. You can get it for cheap. If not, pay full price. It's worth every penny. Beautiful. Listen to it loud with headphones or whatnot because the music is just enchanting. So we're going to leave you guys with something cool. Like I said, it is the year of the dragon. I am a dragon, and I'm also a leap year baby, so this is my year. I get a real birthday, I get celebrated as a dragon, and I'm fucking stoked. I'm gonna eat so much food, because Lunar Year is coming up in February, and I cannot wait.
How old are you?
I'm turning 9.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
my goodness. You're not old enough to be on this podcast.
No.
You need to be 18 plus.
Shh, don't tell anybody. I'm 9. I'm going to be 9 years old, man. Cannot wait. And you said you're a snake. You're the same as my sister.
Yeah. I like the snake. They're supposed to be very very good with money, which I am not. And so it's so much like me, very sophisticated.
Sophisticated?
Shut up.
You are sophisticated in a lot of ways. No. Thank you guys for checking out another episode, and we hope you enjoyed our wonderful experience with Okami, and we hope you guys get to enjoy Okami either now or in the future.
Go buy it. It's only $20 on Steam.
Woo! Sheesh! What a steal! That's cheaper than a pizza. Pizza. All right, we'll catch you guys in the next episode.
Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in to another tipsy and geeky adventure with Tipsy Geeks Unite. We hope you had as much fun as we did.
Absolutely. And remember, you can catch our episodes on your favorite podcast platforms. We're available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So make sure to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review if you enjoyed the show.
Make sure to join us bi-weekly. We unveil 2 new episodes every other Tuesday, promising a continuous dose of excitement and nerdiness just for you.
And for an extra dose of geekiness, check out the show notes for links to our individual Twitch channels. You can catch us individually streaming a variety of video games, and we'd love to have you join us.
Thanks for geeking out with us, and until next time, stay tipsy and keep on geekin'.
Cheers, geeks!